Here's what most people miss. They keep searching for signs that their breakthrough is coming tomorrow, next week, next month. But what if the real question isn't when your moment will arrive? What if it's about recognizing what this exact season of waiting is downloading into your consciousness? That's the shift. Learning to hold your frequency steady when the external world appears frozen. In this exploration, I'm inviting you to see your delays through a completely different lens. And by the time we reach the end, you'll understand why your journey was never running late. It was operating on a timeline far more intelligent than you realized. The weight of waiting and what it's actually installing. People use the word stuck constantly. They look around and say the path is blocked, opportunities are locked, momentum has vanished. But here's the reframe. What if that apparent stillness isn't stagnation at all? What if it's the field initiating a complete reconfiguration, silently extracting everything that would collapse under the pressure of your next elevation? The season of waiting isn't a punishment from the universe. It's recalibration. It's existence itself slowing your forward motion so the infrastructure of your being can catch up to the magnitude of what you're calling in. No one enjoys the pause because it feels like surrender. Yet that's precisely when your power is being reconstructed at the foundation level. You see, most forward movement announces itself loudly. New positions, new connections, new milestones you can point to. But the most crucial evolution makes no noise whatsoever. It's the complete rewiring of your internal operating system. When your external reality holds perfectly still, that's what creates the sensation of heaviness. You're channeling every ounce of energy into remaining present long enough for outdated programming to dissolve completely. But from anyone else's perspective, nothing looks different. So your mind begins interpreting this as evidence of failure, when actually something profound is growing beneath your awareness. Picture someone who invested months into landing what they believed was their dream position. They navigated every single stage of interviews, visualized sitting at that desk, mentally rehearsed their first morning there. And then the opportunity disappeared. Everyone around them offered the same empty comfort about things not being meant to be. Those words never helped, because it felt like the rejection defined their worth. But 12 months down the road, they found themselves leading an initiative in a completely unexpected space, one that genuinely honored their gifts and provided fulfillment instead of exhaustion. In that moment, the earlier rejection began revealing its purpose. They weren't lacking qualifications. They were being redirected until their entire system could hold the degree of alignment that position demanded. This same pattern shows up in connections. You encounter someone who appears to carry everything you've been searching for, and then the connection dissolves. It creates pain because you interpret it as losing possibility. But here's the deeper truth. You lost incompatibility. Sometimes existence will remove precisely what reinforces your unhealed places, so you can finally experience true restoration. Moving through that space between almost and actually is where emotional mastery develops. You begin understanding your feelings rather than letting them control your choices. You develop self-reliance because you've been forced to trust your inner knowing when the silence extended beyond comfort. These are the forms of upgrading that visible achievement can never quantify, yet they're exactly what prepare you for genuine alignment. This is systems thinking in motion. Every functional system operates through inputs, processes, and outputs. The waiting season represents input time. This is when your internal mechanisms recalibrate, when accumulated data gets purified, when emotional glitches get resolved. We typically resist this stage because it lacks glamour. It's repetition, introspection, reconstruction. But without this foundation, the entire process becomes unstable. Imagine attempting to run cutting-edge software on a completely overloaded processor. You can't force the execution. You must create capacity first. Waiting functions as your internal optimization process. Divine timing isn't about the cosmos playing games with your desires. It's about proper sequencing. You cannot integrate certain possibilities until the version of you capable of sustaining them is fully developed. This means the postponement isn't punishment. It's preservation. Every delayed aspiration, every rejection, every silence following a courageous action is valuable information. You're not misaligned with your path. The system is still integrating. Releasing what you wanted might actually confirm you're moving correctly, because alignment naturally removes what doesn't belong in your field. It resembles chaos immediately before it crystallizes into perfect clarity. The universe will not permit something to remain in your experience if it would destabilize your foundation later. That's the level of precision operating here. The very loss that created doubt about your direction might have been confirmation that your internal filtering system finally activated to screen out what no longer matches your frequency. And this means the waiting carries no waste. It's gestation. A seed cannot germinate in constant stimulation. It requires darkness. That transitional phase you're inhabiting isn't emptiness. It's hidden construction. The system is encoding new conditions throughout your reality, preparing support structures, aligning individuals who will recognize your transformation the instant your signal becomes clear. Now, if only that signal could remain uninterrupted, but that's where interference typically enters, because the moment we begin measuring our progress against another person's timeline, we scramble the frequency. We introduce static that blocks what was already moving toward us. This becomes the next layer of understanding. How comparison transforms that clean internal flow into noise and prevents your system from receiving what your evolution has been attempting to transmit continuously. The comparison trap. How misalignment disrupts the signal. Have you noticed how comparing your timeline instantly depletes your drive? That's not random. It's your system dropping the connection. Comparison functions as interference, a subtle distortion that infiltrates your internal algorithm and begins rewriting your attention. What used to feel like clarity transforms into static. And before you can even notice, you're chasing another person's rhythm rather than refining your own. Every scroll, every observation, every thought of, "I should be further along by now," amplifies that interference until your entire energy field feels chaotic. It's not that you lost your way. It's that your signal got contaminated with noise that was never meant for your system in the first place. When you measure your movement against someone else's, your internal navigation starts malfunctioning. It's subtle. Perhaps you begin modifying your goals to match what's trending. Or you compromise your standards just to maintain pace with metrics that hold no relevance to your journey. Suddenly, the work that once felt purposeful feels performative. That's how misalignment infiltrates. You stop operating from authenticity and start operating from competition. And here's where it becomes complex. Comparison doesn't initially appear harmful. It masquerades as inspiration. It deceives you into thinking, if they achieved it, so can I. But beneath that surface, it's redirecting your attention away from genuine expression and toward validation seeking. That immediate urge to prove yourself, to post more rapidly, produce in higher volume, accomplish more visibly, isn't genuine motivation. It's distortion. It's like your system recording corrupted data. You interpret someone else's victory as a measurement tool for your value, and in that transition, you lose calibration. Consider those nights you've spent scrolling through feeds after a challenging day. You witness someone launching a venture, traveling somewhere beautiful, announcing an engagement, celebrating a promotion. Initially, you feel a spark of inspiration, but within minutes, your body begins contracting. You start computing. They're my age. They started after me. What am I missing? That mental spiral activates scarcity mode, not because you genuinely desire what they possess, but because you feel like you're losing ground in a competition you never consciously entered. It's like attempting to tune into a radio frequency while simultaneously broadcasting interference. You can adjust the dial endlessly, but regardless of how intently you listen, the transmission never comes through with clarity. The interference is comparison. It warps your unique frequency so nothing in your environment truly resonates. And the paradox is, while you're occupied decoding someone else's transmission, you're muting your own. Psychology validates this understanding. Social comparison theory demonstrates how continuously measuring your progress against others diminishes self-worth and clarity. It overwhelms the mind with contradictory information about what achievement should resemble. That confusion forces your internal system to process damaged data, which generates frustration and mental fog. The more energy you invest in monitoring others' journeys, the less you invest in honoring your own unfolding. You cannot optimize two distinct systems simultaneously. You either attune to their frequency or yours. From a systems perspective, think of it like executing outdated programming. Every time you compare, you import corrupted input. That damaged data creates processing bottlenecks. Your choices slow down. Your creative flow becomes blocked, and your results feel misaligned. Then you label it exhaustion or inadequacy, when truly it's just incompatibility. The incorrect input cannot generate the appropriate output. Simple systemic logic. If this understanding is shifting something in you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you stay connected to this frequency of consciousness exploration. The encouraging truth is systems self-correct once interference ceases. The instant you withdraw from comparison, your internal environment begins restabilizing. Focus returns to authenticity, and you feel your energy finding balance again. When you stop requiring external validation of progress, your creativity begins flowing naturally again. The interference dissolves. You start perceiving your own intuition with greater clarity. You notice the subtle signals, the perfectly timed message, the unexpected encounter, the small possibility that leads somewhere significant. Flow reinstates itself because your system recognizes its own signal again. You stop manufacturing outcomes and start harmonizing with them. That's when the universe can finally receive your authentic transmission. And that's the inflection point. Because once you stop broadcasting interference, the external reality doesn't remain static. It reorganizes itself. Situations transform, people emerge, timing synchronizes. What once resisted you starts responding to you. Not because you intensified your effort, but because the signal became clear. And that's where we're moving next. The moment alignment establishes itself, and everything surrounding you begins restructuring to match your new vibration. The alignment activation, when the universe locks onto your frequency. What if the universe isn't delaying the perfect moment, but simply waiting for you to transmit the correct frequency? That's the revelation most people never grasp. They perceive timing as this external mechanism, some enigmatic force withholding from them. But in truth, life doesn't stall because it opposes you. It stalls because your frequency hasn't stabilized yet. The instant internal alignment establishes itself, the system doesn't request permission. It simply initiates. You can almost sense when it occurs. Something releases. You stop demanding things accelerate and start trusting they'll manifest. But it's deceptive because immediately before that transition, intensity amplifies. Many people abandon their path right there in that space just before breakthrough. They interpret silence as evidence nothing's happening, when actually, the system is synchronizing. It's the final moment before expansion, like the exhale immediately preceding the inhale. The system cannot update mid-cycle. It must complete first. That's where impatience infiltrates and causes people to quit processes that were moments away from completion. Here's what shifts. Once you stop forcing results and start operating from clarity, new possibilities tend to emerge in waves. Consider a creator who used to obsess over analytics. They posted, monitored, overanalyzed, and finished every day depleted. Eventually, they reached complete burnout and stepped back. Not the superficial kind where you claim you're disconnected, but constantly check your device. A genuine pause. Just creating in silence again. Not for metrics, but for nourishment. Within weeks, a spontaneous piece they created with zero attachment gained significant traction. Not because they tried harder, but because their energy stopped blocking outcomes. Their clarity became the input. That new input reorganized everything. Who discovered their work? What opportunities manifested, and how their confidence stabilized? In systems language, this is the eternal pattern. Input, process, output. When the input transforms from control to trust, the process restructures itself automatically. Clarity and surrender function like purified data. They eliminate old errors that used to obstruct the program. Suddenly, you start receiving intuitive guidance you previously missed. A communication that arrives precisely when you require it. A stranger providing exactly the support you were too proud to request. That's the process healing itself. Once the foundational architecture is stable, the system must generate coherent output. That output might manifest as visible success or internal peace, but it's actually an external reflection of updated programming. Divine timing gets romanticized as though it's some inaccessible mystery, but it's actually systematic. When readiness meets surrender, patterns synchronize. Think of a seed. When the soil conditions, illumination, and pressure align correctly, growth occurs automatically. You don't command it to emerge. You simply nurture the environment. That's divine timing in action. It's not a prize you win. It's a natural response when the conditions match the blueprint. Most people misidentify the transition as miraculous. They name it fortune, an unexpected gift, the universe finally relenting. But when you trace it backward, the shift typically began when they stopped performing, when they released. There's a distinction between pursuing alignment and embodying it. The moment you settle into your truth, all the processes that belong to that vibration start clicking into position. You call it coincidence, but the system is simply reflecting your frequency. Consider someone who experienced continuous rejection. Position interviews, creative proposals, collaborations, all blocked pathways. Eventually, they exhausted themselves trying to prove their worth. They stopped over-justifying, stopped contorting themselves to fit opportunities, and finally began honoring their craft in privacy. Weeks later, one of those previous contacts reconnected. Different energy, superior offer, nothing mystical about it. The transmission changed. Their desperation had disrupted the system. Their acceptance restored it. That's what alignment accomplishes. It compels the external reality to reorganize. The system literally has no alternative but to mirror your new configuration. And once it initiates, opportunities that once seemed impossible begin cascading like synchronized dominoes. People name it manifestation, but it's more accurately synchronization. The system reads your calibration and adjusts its outputs to match. When you comprehend that, you stop chasing timing entirely. You recognize the waiting wasn't squandered. It was upgrading you so timing could locate you prepared. And once that awareness integrates, something fundamental shifts. You look around and sense it. Your moment to win isn't approaching. It's already activating. The instant your internal rhythm synchronizes with what the universe has been preparing to deliver continuously. Your winning moment isn't concealed in the future. It's been operational from the second you stopped resisting what's already aligned for you. The universe didn't require convincing. It required cooperation. Every delay, every closed pathway, every extended stretch of apparent nothingness was synchronizing you closer to flow, not further from it. But here's what the original perspective often misses, and this is where the quantum understanding deepens everything. Your waiting season isn't just building patience or character. It's actually encoding you with a completely new operating frequency. Think of it this way. Every experience of delay is actually your consciousness downloading new perceptual software. The frustration you feel isn't evidence of being stuck. It's the sensation of your old reality tunnel collapsing while a new one constructs itself. Most people abort the process right here because they mistake the discomfort of transformation for evidence they're moving in the wrong direction. What neuroscience reveals is that your brain cannot distinguish between deeply imagined experience and physical reality. During your waiting season, while nothing appears to be moving externally, your neural pathways are literally rewiring themselves based on the vision you hold and the frequency you maintain. Every moment you choose to stay aligned despite external evidence is carving new neural corridors that will eventually become the highways your reality travels on. This isn't metaphorical. This is measurable brain plasticity working in your favor. The quantum field responds not to your words or even your thoughts, but to your state of being. When you can hold the frequency of already having won while still in the waiting season, you're not pretending. You're becoming. You're embodying the version of you that exists in the reality where your breakthrough already occurred. And here's the part that changes everything. The quantum field doesn't experience linear time the way your conscious mind does. To the field, your future self who already won and your current self who's waiting are happening simultaneously. When you align with the frequency of your future self now, you're not attracting your win. You're becoming continuous with it. This is why people who maintain their alignment during delays often experience what appears to be sudden breakthrough. It's not sudden. It's the external reality finally catching up to the internal frequency they've been holding. Think of it like this. You've been living in a reality where your win exists but hasn't materialized yet because there was a frequency gap between who you were and who you needed to become to sustain it. The waiting season is the bridge. Every day you maintain your frequency despite zero external evidence is a day you're closing that gap. And the moment the gap closes completely, your external reality has no choice but to reorganize itself around your new frequency. Here's the practice most people never discover. During your waiting season, you have access to a specific window of consciousness that won't be available once your breakthrough arrives. In this space between wanting and having, you can observe your patterns with crystal clarity. You can witness every fear, every doubt, every old story that would have sabotaged your success if left unexamined. The waiting season is giving you the gift of meeting every part of yourself that isn't ready yet, so you can integrate it before your win arrives. This is the hidden intelligence of divine timing that most teachings completely miss. When you understand this, your entire relationship with waiting transforms. You stop seeing it as time being wasted and start recognizing it as your consciousness being forged. Every day that passes without visible evidence of your breakthrough is a day your capacity to hold your breakthrough is expanding. You're not waiting for your turn. Your turn is happening right now in the invisible realms of consciousness, frequency, and quantum probability. The external manifestation is simply the final step in a process that's been unfolding all along. Let me take you deeper into the mechanics of this because understanding the architecture changes everything. There's a concept in quantum physics called superposition. It means that a particle exists in all possible states simultaneously until it's observed. Your life operates on the same principle. Right now, infinite versions of your future exist in superposition. The version where you win exists right alongside the version where you don't. The version where everything aligns exists simultaneously with the version where nothing moves. They're all real. They're all happening. The question isn't which one will happen. The question is, which one are you collapsing into reality through your observation, through your frequency, through your consistent state of being? Most people don't realize they're constantly collapsing possibilities into reality through the frequency they broadcast. When you spend your waiting season in anxiety, in doubt, in the energy of when will it happen, you're actually collapsing the timeline where it keeps not happening. You're observing from the frequency of lack, and the quantum field has no choice but to keep generating more experiences that match that observation. But when you shift your observation, when you start witnessing from the frequency of it's already done, I'm just waiting for the physical reality to catch up, you collapse an entirely different timeline. You're no longer creating from lack. You're creating from fulfillment. And fulfillment creates more fulfillment. That's quantum law. Now, what we've explored here today is the foundation of conscious frequency transmission. But it only touches the surface of how to actually master this process and move from unconscious broadcasting to becoming the conscious transmitter of your reality. If you're ready to go deeper into the complete framework of how frequencies operate, how to identify when you're stuck in survival static versus coherent transmission, and how to embody the 9 master frequencies that shift you from seeking to being, I've created a comprehensive guide called Beyond the Frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery. It's where I walk you through the step-by-step practices of transforming from someone who waits for alignment to someone who becomes the alignment itself. It's linked in the pinned comment below. This is why affirmations alone rarely work. Because you can say, I am abundant 1,000 times, but if you're saying it from a place of trying to fix your lack, you're still broadcasting lack. The quantum field doesn't hear your words. It reads your frequency. It feels your state. When you can embody abundance while still in the waiting season, not because you're forcing it, but because you genuinely understand that the waiting is part of the abundance. That's when everything shifts. You're no longer trying to get somewhere. You've arrived energetically. And once you arrive energetically, physical arrival is just a matter of time collapsing. Pause for a moment and share in the comments what frequency you're choosing to embody right now, even while you're still in your waiting season. What state of being are you claiming before the evidence arrives? Here's another layer that most teachings ignore. Your waiting season is also clearing your energetic field of attachments that would limit your breakthrough. Think about it. Every time you wanted something desperately and didn't get it, you formed an energetic attachment to that specific outcome. That attachment becomes a filter through which you view all future possibilities. It narrows your field of reception. The universe might be trying to deliver something 10 times better, but you can't see it because you're still attached to the original thing you wanted. The waiting season forces those attachments to surface so they can dissolve. Every moment of disappointment, every closed door, every no is actually loosening your grip on how you think things should look. And that loosening is what creates the space for something beyond your current imagination to enter. This is where surrender becomes the most powerful creative force available to you. Not surrender as giving up. Surrender as letting go of your limited vision so the universe can deliver its unlimited one. When you can hold your desire lightly enough that you're not attached to exactly how it manifests, you open yourself to receiving in ways you never could have orchestrated with your conscious mind. The waiting season teaches you this surrender not through philosophy, but through direct experience. It keeps not giving you what you want in the exact form you wanted until you finally release your grip on the form and start trusting the essence. And the moment you trust the essence, the form appears in ways that exceed what you originally wanted. There's also a biological component happening that